Good morning, Terrence. This is your favorite alien speaking on Tuesday, February 5th, here in Atlanta, or Marietta, Georgia. It's supposed to be 69 degrees and a little rainy today. Anyway, I'm speaking to you and especially the Americans. It's a special day for them. They're having their what they call the State of the Union. To me, as an alien from another planet, I could sit up there in Congress and said, "My fellow Americans, the State of the Union is as follows. It sucks." And I bet you a lot of you Americans would agree with me. It sucks. And the reason for that is you got a helter-skelter. Look it up if you don't know what it means. But look at the way you're doing business. Look at the Congress. Look at the presidency and the Supreme Court. They're far away from what your founders intended them to be. And look at the problems you're having. I mean, look at the governor of Virginia and the lieutenant governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia has a problem because everybody who's at least 60 years of age or older has the same problem. You grew up under a racist United States. The United States has been racist ever since it was formed. There's nothing you can do about it. The problem is, how are you today versus how were you yesterday? If you're the same today as you were yesterday, that's a different story. But you must change with the times. And that's something you Americans and a lot of you Terrans don't understand. Change. You have to. But you also have to adhere to a directive, which you don't have anywhere on this planet. No government has a directive. Star Trek has one, but hey, there was so much exceptions there on Star Trek that in the program, it was so watered down it wasn't even funny. So the prime directive came down to mean nothing because everybody was breaking it left and right. Is a directive supposed to be ironclad 100%? No, but you try to stick it to 98%. And this is why you here in planet Earth have not gotten to perceive, is that you have to find a day and say, as of this date, all human beings on this planet are not responsible for theirs or their ancestors' mistakes. But you are 100% responsible for any mistake that you make going forward. Okay? Now, in the governor of Virginia's case, was he a bad boy in the 1980s? Probably. Was he racist? Oh, I would say 90% yes, being in Virginia. But then again, everybody's 90% racist in the 1980s, even in the 70s and 60s and 50s. Are you going to listen to these African Americans? They're racist. Heck, listen to their so-called leader, Louis Farrakhan, who is advocating for segregation. Wasn't that something that Martin Luther King, their number one devoted guy, was very much against segregation? And here they're following Louis Farrakhan that advocates segregation. So what's the deal, African Americans? And then you got Stacey Abrams that's supposed to do the response for the Democrats. That is an irony in itself. Stacey Abrams doing the response for the Democrats? The Democrats are responsible for all your Jim Crow laws. And everything that you African Americans went through. Look at the Democrats. They were the ones that passed those laws. They're the ones that kept you in segregation. They're the ones that were more racist. I mean, you had Jesse Helms. You had Lester Maddox here in Georgia, Miss Abrams. Lester Maddox was one of the most racist governors I've ever heard about. Other than George Wallace. And he was fun, How about Jesse Helms? All those were Democrats at one time. They turned Republican in Jesse Helms' case. Arlen Specter. In Pennsylvania, he turned Republican, then he went back to the Democrats. But boy, in the 1960s, didn't he represent Ira Einhorn? So you see African Americans and you see Terrans. You got a problem here because you don't have 1. A mission statement, 2. A prime directive, 3. An order that all human beings on this planet are not responsible for their ancestors' mistakes at a certain date, and wipe it all off the face of the earth and start accumulating again. But this time, keep a record of it. But don't do what you're doing right now. And every Tom, Dick, and Harry, hey, you might as well call out Dianne Feinstein for being in that 1970s San Francisco Board of Supervisors. There's a lot of questions about whether they were responsible for Moscone's death, Harvey Milk's death, and Dan White's death. So you see, there's a lot of blame to go around here. What do you say, Americans? And Terrans, this is your favorite alien signing off. Thanks.